Hey guys, this is a sort of test episode to see how well this works. Welcome to Clockworks Chatter. This is where I just kind of talk about anything Spiral Knights related and such, and I try to fit it all within the time frame of me going from depth 18 to that of the terminal. This first episode is going to be a bit weird. It's going to involve a lot of cutting and inserting audio clips instead of one consecutive commentary throughout the entire run, but that's because when it comes to actually talking aloud to just myself, it feels a bit weird, so it's going to be a bit rough for this first episode. I apologize, but hopefully everything will work out as I continue speaking. Now, I'd like to apologize for any sort of background audio you may hear. You might hear a low humming in the background, you might hear my chair squeak every once in a while. Those are things at the moment I currently can't control. I'd like to do something about that, such as like soundproof my room, get a new chair, all that sort of stuff. But my current living situation, which is in my parents' house, is not something I can really control at the moment, so for now it's going to have to be as is. Now, for those of you who've been playing Spiral Knights long enough, you've probably heard of something familiar, such as Moroka, aka Button Mash's Spiral Spiel. He's been doing that series for a long time up until he quit back in 2015, which even I watched and admired back in the day. So I guess you could say that this is a bit of inspiration. This is also kind of taken the form of a podcast, since this audio is being post recorded compared to that of my background footage, which was recorded beforehand. So you could also say that this is potentially a sort of podcast sort of thing. So if you just want to like put this in as background audio, by all means, go ahead. I don't mind. In fact, it's kind of what I encourage, because I don't expect you to watch the actual video, since it's a lot of me just dying, failing, and, well, just me running to the terminal. I don't know what would be really too interesting about that. But that's not to say I won't be editing in videos or pictures or whatever to help illustrate whatever I'm talking about, because this is very much a discussion sort of format, and allows me to discuss my ideas, other people's ideas, people's opinions, my own opinions, create a new sort of understanding of a topic, and as well as discuss with you guys in the comments. Which I think this leads perfectly straight into our first topic for the episode. Why I play Spiral Knights and why do I enjoy it so much. Because even though there's a lot of problems with the game at the moment, I still find new ways to enjoy the game, whether it be through the community, through playing PvP, which that's something I'll get into later, or just playing the game as is and not really caring as to what the people think about it. The reason why I enjoy Spiral Knights so much for what it is because it's such a unique concept that has never really been seen in any of the games before. And so I just have that natural draw to it, and it's that game I've latched onto for basically half my life at this point. So it's just something I always feel nostalgic toward and want to continue playing, because it's so unique from anything I have played before. And I spent so much money on a load of different games on Steam, and they all feel similar to a degree, but nothing stands out with the concept of Spiral Knights. Something about Spiral Knights just feels so homely. The community is always so welcoming, and I've always cherished that, because you can never really find a truly toxic person in Spiral Knights, with the exception of like PvP or guildmates every once in a while. But for the most part, the community has been something I've always cherished and never really found in any other games. You've got games like TF2, League of Legends, Realm of the Mad God, all games I've played extensively before, and their communities are downright toxic, with racial slurs, insults, gatekeeping. They don't have that same sort of inclusivity that Spiral Knights does. Back when I first started playing Spiral Knights, most people were just playing the game as is. You were just trying to get to Vanguard, and people were there to help. You still kind of see this today, whether if you're in a guild or not. You'll find people who are willing to take people into Vanna, and though while times have changed, kind of requiring people to join Vanna as a Defender Elite, it still really goes to show how amazing the community is and how open and friendly it is compared to that of like trove, which if you make even a comment in chat, you're just downright hated upon because you exist and you're not at the certain status within the game. Because I notice a lot of games tend to do that, where the community will generally barrage a newer player for not being good enough because they're new, and a lot of games do that. That's kind of natural to a degree, but Spiral Knights is at least willing to give advice, if not help, because Spiral Knights isn't like those other games. The community wants to see these new players rise through the ranks and become vanguards, because that's what keeps the community growing. Now, a lot of Spiral Knights players are veterans from a long time ago, but Spiral Knights also stays ever so slightly afloat thanks to the small new influx of players that come along. And if that's what keeps the community alive, then, you know what, sure, I'm willing to accept it, because I don't ever want to see this game die, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't want to either. It's very cherishable to them, and it would just make them extremely sad to see that their friends, their moments, their gear, everything. It goes to say with any MMO. It's sad whenever any MMO goes away, such as like MapleStory 2 when it went away. I couldn't play that anymore for the farming aspect, as silly as that sounds, but Spiral Knights, because it's such a niche community and almost everyone knows each other and absolutely loves the game to death, it would be an absolute hard hit to just lose something, and that's why they want the people to continue playing. That's why they want the new players to reach Vanguard, so that way they continue playing and help continue this trend of keeping new players playing, so that way the community stays afloat. Now, this can't obviously last forever. Servers don't last forever, either because of budget or because of player count, but to keep this game perpetuating as is already is impressive. We're almost hitting 10 years at this point, and I still don't ever want to see it go away. Now, I think that's enough with this topic. Now I think I should also explain why I still play this game. I've played this game back in 2011, dropped for a year, came back in 2012, continued playing for about up until 2015, took a break for a year, started playing again in 2017, took another break, played on and off between 2019, and I basically played for all of this year. And to be able to play for that long, you have to find new ways to play the game to really continue enjoying it for what it is. Because if you just continue to do the same monotonous thing over and over again, you're going to get burnout. I mean, even just playing a game for so long gives people massive burnout. And so you have to either invent new ways or continue playing with other people, because with me, I was very much a solo player for most of my life in Spiral Knights. I did Vanna publicly, I did certain events and or missions publicly with people, but for the most part, I was a lone wolf. And so this is why I took either years off or played continuously on and off, because, well, I couldn't really find joy in just playing by myself. Obviously, I've had friends over the years, and I've cherished them very much, and I've even gone through several different friend groups before, and I think now I finally settled on one that I think is going to stay for quite a long while, and I'm really happy I have, because like I do a lot of things with them. I play PvP with them, I play other games outside of Steam with them, I've even already done some videos with them. And we do really stupid ways of playing the game, as you've seen before on my video on a weaponless Royal Jelly Palace, or my practice attempt of weaponless OCH. But it's a big reason as to why I still play Spiral Knights, is because the friends and guildmates I have made, I truly cherish, and it's one of the main reasons why I still play, because otherwise, what real reason is there to play besides PvP and do fashion contests and collect all the gear in the game? There really isn't, and so this kind of goes back to the whole idea of why I love the community so much. But I think another reason is why I still play Spiral Knights is there's just something about it that's ever so slightly addictive. I've told my friends this like once or twice, but Spiral Knights isn't just a game, it's an experience. The art style is something you've never really seen in any other game before. The whole concept of fantasy knights escaping from their homeland only to be abandoned on a planet that mechanically and automatically shifts its level design and themes is so cool, and you don't really see anything like that. Maybe in the concept of a sandbox game such as Starbound, where all these planets are all of different biomes and sub-biomes, but Spiral Knights is the one that only takes it into a MMO RPG top-down dungeon crawler sort of aspect, and I think that's what's so cool about it, because it's just so unique compared to anything out there. I've already said this before earlier in the video, but I think it bears repeating, because it's just something that you really have to appreciate, because you just can't find it anywhere else. I can't really explain it in a way that makes logical sense other than that's just how it is. Another reason as to why I like the game so much as well is because its versatility within playstyle. And it's not just a me sort of thing, it's an everybody sort of thing. And so, to be able to play the way you want within, obviously, the game's limits, despite guns being the optimal weapon of choice at the moment, and I'll discuss about the meta in a later episode, but for now, that's besides the point. It is truly fascinating because you don't really see that in other games. Yes, you have other options for playstyles and or build options, but Spiral Knights takes it to a whole sort of unique aspect that just encompasses everyone. You've got fast weapons, you've got heavy weapons, you've got medium weapons, you've got low damaging weapons, you've got high damaging weapons for specific playstyles, you've got weapons that favor basics, you've got weapons that favor charge attacks, you've got weapons that favor both, you've got armors that favor all sorts of the spectrum, that everyone is allowed to play any sort of style they want. Even with the pets and sprite abilities and trinkets, you can do a lot of stuff, and that's what I love. And obviously there's a definitive meta that almost everyone follows through, but who says you have to play that style? If it works, by all means play it, and that's what I love, because like I found a way that works best for me. It may not be the same for another person, and you don't see that in a lot of, specifically MMORPGs, because like you're just locked to a specific class, or you're locked to just getting the best gear. Certain games have absolute complete imbalances between other weapons and such that makes it far more definitive, but even while that exists within Spiral Knights, it just works because of the way the game is mechanically intended for the player to play through it. And while I think that my way is the best way to play for me, it's obviously not for another player, and it's just why I love it, because my playstyle is just so enjoyable to play that it makes it worth playing through. I think it just makes me a little bit sad to hear that some players either go all Cobalt or go the meta route, because they're missing out on quite the variety of weaponry to try out. You've got the Sudaruska, which is predominantly a charge-based weapon, but it's so fun to use once you actually get around to using it and figuring out how to use it properly. But people just don't do that because they just want to complete the game either in the most efficient manner and or don't know any better and go with complete Cobalt. But that's not technically their entire fault. The way this game works, and how any game works, is that there's always a skill cap that always gets increased over time. So the longer that a game has been played, obviously the players are going to find the most efficient way to play through it. And so they're going to try and break limits and or push the game to its mental capacity. And by mental capacity I mean like its limits as to how far you can push, like damage, for example. Chaos and BK are the two top tiers for damage at the moment, and people absolutely abuse the crap out of it. And not to say that's bad or anything, but it's just because of that, people are going to want to incentivize newer players to play this sort of style too, and because of that, players are going to get better through this sort of play style, but that's also going to be the same play style they have, and so they're missing out on, rather than missing out on efficiency and completing the game faster, they're missing out on fun, on new and weird and wacky weapons. And so that does sadden me a little bit, but that's just how it is. You can't really change an entire community by saying like, oh, play other weapons, they're fun. No, that's just not how it is, but that's just how a game works. You can't change that. And you predominantly see this most in PvP, where you go Striker, you go either Chaos or BK, you take any weapon you either find favorably or works really well, and you slaughter people for damage. That's just how it's been. That's the culture, because you go and damage farm. That's the most efficient way that people have found to play Lockdown, and it's what's most enjoyable to them. Remember when I said I was going to talk about PvP earlier on? Yeah, PvP is actually something I never really liked for the longest time, but as of this year, as of the past few years, I've been getting into PvP more and more, not for the sake of, oh, I want to be like those people, no, because I've been playing it with my friends and I've found new enjoyment out of it. Playing Guardian is not the smartest thing to do, but you can make it work. You can use weird build styles that actually work against strikers in some weird ways. For me, I found going Mercurial and Hammer works really well against strikers who continuously use Barbarous Thornblade or Final Flourish, because I can tank so many hits, but I can also counter in that, and that's just why I found so much fun, because when you do that with a whole group of friends, it becomes silly and it becomes so much fun that it actually, for some reason, works some of the time. And as much as I've always hated PvP, I can respect it now to a degree because of even though it's still a somewhat toxic place, I can go in there, have a little bit of fun in an unconventional manner, call it a day, and just, yeah. Now, that's not to say I've had my fair share of bad moments in there. In fact, I've even uploaded a few videos before that were a bit distasteful, but those are private and I don't have to worry about that. And thankfully no one really took it seriously, so that's all good. But I think I should start wrapping this video up. We've almost reached the terminal, even though this is all being done in post-commentary. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it goes over well with you guys, and hopefully you're quite interested to see more of this. I know there isn't really a lot of podcasty discussion type videos in Spiral Knights, and I hope to sort of bridge that gap almost, because we haven't had anything like the Arsenal podcast, Haven Zero, or Spiral Spiel like that in a long time, so I figured this is something I could do to entertain you guys while also providing some sort of discussion and interesting content for you to listen or watch. So please leave a comment down below so that way I can gauge on whether if you truly did enjoy this, what I need to improve, is there anything you'd like to talk about in the future, and that would be really helpful to me because this is still very much experimental to me because I've never done anything like this before. This whole YouTube thing is still obviously new to me, so I want to get a good gauge as to what you guys would want. And with that, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I bid adieu. Goodbye.